Hello, everyone. We are going to get rolling here in about a minute. Give a few more people a chance to enter in and get joined up with us here. In the meantime, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate your time today. We have this great new product that we as a company just want to get introduced to the marketplace and let people know about so that they can put it to good use on our roads. So I'll introduce myself. I'm Andy with TraffiCalm Systems. We, as you probably know, manufacture intelligent road solutions based on mainly LED technology and solar power. And so we've decided to enter into the beacon market. And I've got Kevin Hansen here. He's been developing this product line for about half a year now.
Yeah.
But he's worked hands-on with beacons in the marketplace for years and years and years. How many years have you been at this?
Yeah, 25 years.
Okay,
so,
great, cool.
Yeah, so we have some cool solutions regarding the beacons, and we'll be going through that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to launch into a presentation, so you won't be able to see us anymore, but you can follow along with that presentation, and we'll get rolling. All right, so covered today, we're going to talk about the applications that you can utilize these beacons for, the system components that we're proposing be utilized, and then also Kevin's going to go hands-on with the product. We'll show some live video of him assembling an actual one, so you can see how easy it is and why we've endeavored on this project as a company. So applications, pretty much anywhere that you would use TraffiCalm flashing sign rings, you can also use beacons in addition to those. You don't have to have the flashing sign rings. You can use beacons as a standalone solution, but we do propose that you use both. I know there are municipalities and agencies that have not yet adopted the flashing sign ring as a viable solution in place of beacons. So that's kind of why we've gone down this road, is to provide all-encompassing solutions. So it seems like it's really natural for us to use our controlling hardware, what we've learned as a company in the industry for ease of installation, and for what works out on the roadway to produce a cutting-edge beacon solution. So we know they've been on the market for quite a while, but we think we've brought something new to the table. So some ideas for where you could use beacons: school zones, curve warning, stop signs and stop ahead signs, speed zones, or where speed is reduced, at crosswalks, at conflict intersections especially is important to note. High water warning systems can make use of these. And in fact, we were just talking about wrong way systems could also utilize beacons to warn wrong way drivers they've gone the wrong direction. Now, as we'll learn in this presentation, we've incorporated all of our intelligent active detection systems to utilize them in conjunction with the beacon. So it's not just a 24/7 flashing light. It also has ways we can activate those systems based on inputs. So why would you choose TraffiCalm at this point? Like I said, beacons have been on the market for many dozens of years. They've been a long-term solution and well adopted. So why would we enter in the market at this point, and what do you benefit from selecting a TraffiCalm beacon? Well, the first thing is we are connected vehicle ready. So when you buy the system from us, which we're proposing, you buy a whole system, not just a controller, not just a beacon, but a complete system. It's connected vehicle ready, so that means it's going to talk to cars on the roadway that are well, equipped for that future technology coming down the road. That's good because you don't have to worry about upgrading your system later on. It's good to go out of the box right now. It'll just talk to any RSU with a piggyback unit. So you have to purchase that piggyback unit when that time comes, of course. We have built-in default included, whatever you want to call it, wireless collaboration. So that's device to device within 1,000 feet range, 300 meters of range. These devices will talk to each other. That is a huge benefit in that you're going to just set up one controller. This is the way it is with all of our TraffiCalm flashing sign systems. You set up one controller, and those settings perpetuate to multiple what we call collaborators. So they're wireless posts. So you could set up 5, 6, a dozen of these things at one time, as long as they're 1,000 feet apart, which repeats. So you could set them up in 12 of them in a 12,000 foot range. And that would you can just set up just the one, and it perpetuates like the calendar and the settings and the flash settings, and everything that you set up on the one goes to all the others, which is a huge advantage when you're installing these, so you're not going to every single post. We also have, and you can kind of see it here, we'll zoom in later and show it off in particular, but there's a confirmation LED. Now, this is something that we heard from the industry. There's like they have to put a reverse facing beacon, which is an added cost when they want police officers to be able to tell the system is flashing, or for whatever reason, they want to be able to tell the system is flashing when they can't see the beacon. So we've actually incorporated a LED that's well visible from a long way away. I don't know, we tested like 300 feet or so, and it was fully visible at that. So it's a large LED, single LED, but large, and produces a flashing strobe at the same time the beacon's flashing. So you can be assured that the beacon is flashing if that LED is flashing. So that's totally unique to us. TraffiCalm is the only manufacturer that supplies that type of solution, and we feel it's pretty innovative. It's something that we just haven't seen before on a beacon setup. So we have designed and tested and sourced what we believe are the best components in the industry, from the beacon ball to the housing to the way it's mounted to the post. Kevin's done a ton of work to test out and make sure that we have the best of everything for you. We also offer a lot of variation in this setup. So we've got, I don't know, like 47 SKUs or something associated with this project. It's massive, but it's so that you can match what you need to your specifications or to your desires. We have it available, color combinations, orientations of beacons. So you'll see behind me, we've got, you can't really see because it's a fairly small video, but we'll show it off later. We've got a dual vertical beacon, a dual horizontal beacon, and we're going to set up the single post or the single beacon toward the end of the meeting here. We also noticed and heard from the industry that you don't dim your AC beacons. So why do you dim your AC or your solar powered beacons? So we've gone to great lengths to design a system that is efficient enough and has enough power to perform like an AC beacon, which is awesome. It doesn't, it doesn't have that effect of losing brightness when it needs it most, right? We know these are not emergency, but high impact situations where we're installing these. So why would you dim the beacon down and not maximize its performance? So with this system, we've done everything we can to make sure that it does not dim down. Now that is an option. You can still have the system actively dim if needed, based on light conditions, ambient light conditions, but it also has an option to not dim at all and perform well for weeks and weeks on end without any solar effect at all. One way we've done that is by supplying fairly substantial solar panels. So our minimum kit is a 60-watt solar panel. We also have an upgraded 100-watt and then an industry exclusive 150-watt panel, which can be seen. No, can't be seen. That's the 100-watt panel behind me. 150-watt wouldn't fit in frame. It's just so large. And those supply power to a 43 amp hour eco-friendly battery. It's a new battery technology not a lot of people have heard about. I never heard about it until our company came up with it about 2 years ago now, I guess. Yeah. And we've started implementing it across the board. It's an AGM type battery, but utilizes some really cutting edge dielectric, right? Is that what's the
crystal?
Yeah, the crystal. Yeah. So new technology. We can get in the specifications if you need, but really interesting technology for batteries that hasn't been out there before. It works really well down to extremely low temperatures. So where your normal AGM battery or a lithium ion battery is going to fail at a low temperature, this battery just keeps trucking along and allows it to accept a charge. That's a big deal. So if you cut the charging off at a certain low temperature, ambient temperature, that you lose all the performance of your system. And that's where you start to see the dimming on other beacon setups. With ours, you've got this 43 amp hour battery that performs down to a really low level and keeps going even in cold climates. So if you're in Montana, which Kevin was just yesterday, it's not cold right now. In fact, it's way hot, but dead of winter, it gets down below zero and this thing's going to keep flashing away.
Yeah. So that's the other extreme that the batteries are good at, is so the low temperatures and the high temperatures and the discharge cycle times. The number of times it can be discharged and charged.
Okay. Yeah. Which is competitive with like any other battery technology out there.
Right.
Great. All right, if you've used TraffiCalm products in the past or your installers have, everything's going to be very familiar. We've got the controller and collaborator electronics that we've used across the board, whether it's a stop sign, a push-to-cross system, a curve warning system. All of those use the same controllers and collaborators that this system utilizes. The packaging is a little bit different, though. You'll see here on the table, we've actually employed a signal mount. Is that what this is called? Or a terminal mount? Terminal cabinet, there we go, for post-top mounting. So it's a really familiar industry component that we've adapted our our electronics to. So you'll notice there's a little antenna hanging off here. That's where all the electronics are housed right there. We are ITE VTCASH 2005 compliant on our beacons, so you don't have to worry about that. We've gone on the high end of the beacons so that we can make sure we're compliant with every specification. We do have an inexpensive radar option that you can add onto these systems, and that's pretty unique to TraffiCalm, is how inexpensive our radar add-on is. So it detects vehicles moving toward the beacon system, whether it's a stop sign or whatever system it is. It's going to light the system off based on that radar detection. We've had great success with that with our flashing sign rings, because it really gathers a lot more driver attention as they approach the sign. So it's not flashing until they get within range of the radar, and then it starts flashing. So that's an awesome addition that doesn't cost a whole lot more. In fact, sometimes we just quote it out of habit and end up with great success because it just really gains the end users a lot. One cool thing about our beacon setup is that it is completely housed in the post top assembly you see here on the desk, or in the base of the post. There's no exterior cabinet. There's no additional hardware hanging off the post, so it looks really sleek, really modern. Adds a whole new level of aesthetic to a beacon setup that we haven't seen out there on the roadway. It's really simple, really clean installation when it's all done, and it's easy to install. I mean, as you'll see when Kevin's setting this up, it takes literally like 20 minutes to put a single beacon up. It's really, really great. And then, like I said, we've integrated this verification light, which we can't emphasize enough. That's a really big deal that nobody else can offer. This verification light reduces costs and provides another level of advancement in the system there. So here's kind of the components we're proposing that we sell. So there's a pole top solar panel kit, and this is kind of looking at the side profile of the beacon setup. It's got a solar panel up at top. Again, we sell a 60 watt, 100 watt, or 150 watt solar panel kit. All really intuitively assembled. Has all the fasteners to make sure that it's tight and won't change direction or aiming over time. Aiming in a solar panel, as you may be aware, is really, really important to get the maximum charging on a daily basis out of that solar panel. So we've given a lot of flexibility in how the system can be aimed. It can tilt, I think, on a 180-degree axis and then swivel on a 360-degree axis. So you got unlimited, I mean, not unlimited, but nearly unlimited aiming possibilities out of this system too. Obviously, there's the ideal aiming of a solar panel, but then there's also the, what works best for that installation. So, your installers can figure that out, and our system will accommodate that best practice as needed. Then we've got, moving down from there, a pole tops, we call it a slimline controller or collaborator. Now, technically, the slimline controller or collaborator is just the black door that affixes to the post top, what we call the hub. Now, the hub is that signal terminal mount that's industry related, industry recognizable. But we call it a hub because everything hangs off of it. So the solar panel attaches to the top of it, the slimline door attaches to the face of it, and then the beacon actually shoots off the sides or the front of it. So everything kind of is built off of that single component. It works really well. It's made for a 4.5-inch round pole and base. Specifically, we recommend you use a Pelco base and pole because we've put the battery down in the base of the pole, and the tray that we put in that base is designed specifically for the Pelco base. So we do supply Pelco components here. We are a Pelco distributor, right? Or I don't know our exact agreement, but we can supply the Pelco components as needed. So we can offer a complete solution. You put one PO in and we can offer the whole thing on a pallet delivered to wherever you want to in the country. So additionally, we can break out the specific components and sell, let's say, just the beacon kit with the solar panel and the housing without the pole if you want to supply that locally. Or some of our distribution already have those poles and bases in stock. So, which brings up a good point. Oh, you have
retrofits.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, so you can also retrofit to what's existing out there. We do stock all of these components, so you're not going to be waiting 30, 45 days for delivery on these setups. We have a 2-week lead time because everything's in stock in our facility. Let's see. So, additionally, we include all of the cabling that you need. It's all very well marked, very well labeled, so that you know exactly what plugs into what, and at lengths that make sense. So we've developed some systems for 16-foot poles, 14-foot poles. All of it comes with the wiring you would need regardless of what size pole you're putting it on there. I mean, obviously there's excessive beyond what we could plan for. But for the most part, these cable links make sense for every installation out there. So digging into the specific components, the pole top solar panel kit includes a rotate and tilt bracket, a solar panel, and a UV resistant wiring harness. So pretty basic 3 components that are included there. Obviously, there's a few breakout pieces, but again, everything makes sense the way it goes together. It's well documented in our instructions. I personally build our instructions, so I know they work well. We test them and make sure they go up as we explain them or as we would expect them to go up. So as a company, it's really important that our end users and especially our installers have a really easy piece of cake time installing these things on the roadway. So we've made sure that happens here. Probably the best solution for installers we've ever produced, I think. Well documented. Kevin's done a lot of work to make sure everything's installation friendly. All right, moving down, you've got the Slimline controller and collaborator. There it is highlighted. So you'll notice the black door mates to an aluminum housing. The black door is specifically what we're talking about. The housing is kind of separate and is included with the beacon assemblies. The door itself is the Slimline controller and collaborator. That includes all of your flashing electronics, so that's going to control how the system flashes. You can set that up. That's completely user configurable. If it flashes on a 1 hertz or off and on basis, or there's like some bright pop flashes. RFB flash patterns are controlled. Obviously, you wouldn't do that with a beacon, but just to kind of give you an idea, there's a lot of variation in what you can set up. Now, we do recommend you stick to your METCD settings of 1 flash per second or off on per second, so 1 hertz. But there are variations for situations where you don't need to comply with METCD guidelines. Also on that board are inputs for the radar, push buttons, or various sensors like a high water sensor or a freezing temperature sensor. We've even done overheight sensor systems with these. There's a lot of variation. It's just a contact closure, so the system accepts inputs from various sensors readily available on the market. Again, we produce our own radar. It's inexpensive, and that has a specific port just for that radar. But then you can also hook this up to crosswalk push buttons, whether they be ADA, well, they'd all be ADA compliant, but audible push buttons or just standard push buttons, they all plug into our inputs there. You also have 2 outputs for beacons or an LED ring or an RFB. We have those outputs allow a lot of connection to a lot of 12 volt devices. So you can connect multiple kinds of devices. Like I was saying, you could connect a beacon and a ring or a beacon and an RFB. It has a lot of variation what you can control with this device. And then it includes a complete wiring harness for 2 beacons on a 16-foot pole. So that includes everything down to the battery, everything up to the solar panel, and out to the beacons. And if you order other devices from TraffiCalm, like a flashing sign ring or an RFB, those also include the required wiring. Also included, if you purchase a Slimline component, let's say just that part number, it's going to come with the 43 amp hour battery. So we kind of just clarify what comes with what when you order it on the line item. Now, if you're ordering just a complete system, you get it all mixed up on a pallet and you put it together. So it doesn't really matter, but this is what comes with these components. Moving down, you've got your beacon housing there, or your beacon assembly. Again, we have options for a single beacon, a dual horizontal, or a dual vertical beacon. These SKUs include the housing, the support structure. You would have to purchase the visor separately, but we do supply it. Sometimes it's not desirable, so we broke it out as a separate line item. So you have to purchase the visor separately. Again, an easy to connect to wire harness, and then an ITE compliant beacon ball. And like a note here, not all beacons are created equal. If you're in the industry, you know that well. We really want to see those ITE compliant beacons go up so that the light output is consistent, right?
Right.
And measurable.
Right.
Did you have a note?
Well, I was going to say there's some beacons that are being used in the industry that don't even meet the ITE specs, and so
yeah,
at least during bright days, they're not they don't have the impact that ours would have. So
yeah, exactly. Okay, and then the final component that you will need to supply is a 4.5-inch Pelco pole and base, specifically Pelco, again, for those reasons I've stated. We supply those, but you can purchase them separately. We do offer, I forgot to mention, we do offer an AC solution as well. So again, you can't see it, but maybe we'll zoom in here in a minute. But same housing, same door, but rather than a solar panel jutting off the top, we've got a AC converter, AC to DC converter built into the cabinet. So all of it's housed inside. I will note on the 100 and 150 watt systems, it comes with a standalone solar charger or charge controller, whereas the 60 watt system just powers right off the board built into the device. So 60 watts the easiest application, but where you do need the 100 and 150 watt panels, we offer a full solution that provides efficient charging. That's really important to make sure everything's efficiently charged and using the most of the daylight we have.
And the key thing is because of this is the enclosure, you don't have a box hanging off of the pole. So
right,
again, aesthetically, it's a lot sleeker looking.
Yeah, absolutely. With something that's extremely robust, right? This is not just like a bent metal or something like that. This is a cast industry accepted device that's been weight tested, and it's very, very robust. If you see it on the post, it looks extremely sturdy. So we kind of get into our radar activation. So radars can be connected to a controller or a collaborator. The inputs go to the controller or collaborator and can activate all the beacons, connected beacons in a system. So let's say we have one controller connected to 6 collaborators. So that would represent 7 beacons flashing, or up to, if it was a dual beacon system, it'd be 14 beacons flashing. You can activate any one of those or all of those off of one radar. Or you could have radars on each post and activate all of them at one time. Or we have a setup where you can actually have one radar activate a specific sign in a group. So let's say we have approaching traffic at a conflict intersection. So you can flash signs for the opposite direction or the opposite driver that traffic is approaching. So we have a lot of variability in our setup and what can be accomplished with it there. We shoot for a 150 millisecond response time out of these systems, so almost unnoticeable from the time it detects to when it starts flashing. You're going to get that 150 millisecond activation period. And we really want, our ultimate goal is to calm dangerous driving behavior. So whatever device, whether it's a flashing sign ring, an RFB, a beacon, an audible horn, anything that can get drivers to be aware that they're driving dangerously is what we want to accomplish with these systems. So that's what we put a lot of work in to make sure that happens.
And since you have the radar, it does help out. It's not going all the time. So if you have a location in a neighborhood where they don't like blasting lights all the time or beacons, this is a way to only have it going on when there's traffic. So,
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's a good point. Got a couple questions here. What brand of LED beacon are you using? And who produces the DC driver? So we're using a Leotech yes. Beacon ball. Yep. And the DC driver is produced by Meanwell. So a very standard common component. I believe it's an IP67 rated component. And then we're using, that's the AC to DC converter. The specific controller, the DC driver, or the flash controller is ours. So that's the one that's in all of our flashing sign systems. All right, we also asked, is your top pole assembly slip fitter? Can it support lots of weight? 100 watt panel is large. So we have specifically not done wind load testing on this, but this device this housing is developed by Pelco to hold
4-section, 5-section heads with back plates on them. So it's designed for a lot more weight than what we're putting on there and wind load. So
there we go. But as far as specific testing and results, we don't have those at hand.
Right. We've had these panels out in the field for quite a while, though, for a few years.
That's true.
This design, so
yeah, absolutely. All right, so now we'll highlight kind of the slimline controller and what it looks like. So there you can see the flashing LED light. It's about a quarter inch or like a half an inch wide, and produces quite a lot of output. Everything slides on the top of the pole and then affixes with set screws, so you don't have to worry about it not digging in or not applying properly. Once you've set everything to torque specs, it's good to go. And then I think this is the part where Kevin's going to actually put one together for us. Are you ready for that?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. Let me get switched over to video here. There we go. I apologize. I'm still getting used to panning and tilting our camera. So if it goes wrong at first, you can just get mad at me in the comments.
No one's going to get mad at you. Come on, Andy.
I just have to remember right is left and left is right, and it'll all go all right.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is start. I'm just going to disassemble the controller portion from this unit. So you're going to have, this is like the controller. We also have the collaborator that goes right along with that.
Can you show them the electronic side of that?
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's,
you'll recognize that right off the bat from what's inside of our flashing sign system cabinets. It's all exactly the same hardware.
Yep. So we added a couple things. We have a lanyard.
Oh yeah.
That keeps it so it goes to the screw. So when it hangs, so if somebody drops it, it's not going to be damaged at all. We have our contacts for wiring in our some people don't want this necessarily, so you don't have to wire it in. So it's a matter of how you want to do that.
Right.
But basically that's the unit we've been manufacturing for years. And this is the Pelco post-top mount terminal cabinet. And so we take out the terminal strip back here, and we can mount the power supply back there, or if it's a 100 watt or 150 watt, we have a solar charger that mounts inside there. So this is a solar charger that mounts in there, and it would be mounted like that. So that's what comes with that kit when you're doing 100 and 150 watts. So basically what I'm going to start off with is we're going to put this assembly there. We have this nipple, and one nipple has our zinc lock nut on it, and then this is a tapered side, so you can see, I don't know if you can see, it's tapered. This is a straight, so they call it NPT for taper, and then this side is an NPS. So basically we just crank this guy down, and if you notice, some of you guys have been using these things for years, but tighten down, and the last thing you do is tighten down these set screws. Yeah, that's kind of the last thing you do. Next thing we're going to do is put this on the solar panel assembly. I'm going to bring that over here.
Let me know if you need a hand.
So this is a 60 watt solar panel assembly, and one thing that's unique about this is because these clamps here, they can slide back and forth, so it doesn't matter which solar panel. If something were to happen to the solar panel in 5 years, you needed a different one. The mounting holes might be different, but it's just a matter of sliding this back and forth to make that work. So it's pretty simple that way. One thing that I'm going to do is put this on. Normally I would put this on the pole, but because this is already assembled, I'm just going to solar mount here.
One way the instructions are written is so that you can do as much on the ground or in your shop as possible before you actually get out roadside. I know a lot of our installers like to get things prepped before they get out there, so they're not figuring out assembly processes when they get out in the field. So a lot of this can be done and stored on the back of a truck before they get to the roadway. So that's what we've kind of developed the instructions to reflect. So
with these clamps on here, they're literally finger tight, and you can see I mean, it stays in position for the most part. You just clamp them up and it's not going to go anywhere. It just bites into these support tubes. So these support tubes here, they have caps on the end, so you're not going to get critters or insects infiltrating it. And then you have your, see if you can see this here. Right here, our cable going in. So you have our strain relief for our cable there. And now we're going to slip this.
Hold on, everybody. I'm going to reset the camera here.
Oh. Okay, I'm going to slip this over the pole.
Wigging out. There we go.
Got it?
Yeah.
All right.
It's as good as it's going to get for right now. Otherwise, you guys are going to get seasick.
Okay. So this is where we have it here. I'm just going to turn this sideways here while I'm doing the assembly, and then just kind of set this up. I have for that right now, I'll just leave it like that. You gotta, oh, it's right there. Okay. So this slips on here. We'll just tighten up these screws, these set screws. Just kind of keep it in place. Okay, so now we have our solar panel mounted. Now we want to go ahead and start the assembly for the beacon. And what we want to do is we have these mounts. So these assemblies come just like this. And then we have a foot that comes for the bottom one. So this one's going to be installed down there. And this one is going to be the top one. So I'm going to just thread this in here. Okay. So this is the support for the top of the beacon. And I'm going to position that right around there. Next thing I'm going to do is show you a little bit on the beacon itself, the beacon housing. And kind of see what we have going on here. So the beacon housing, it comes with a terminal strip right back here, and that has a couple of contacts in there. Those contacts, you have your wiring that goes up to your control board, and then you have your this is for your beacon, and then your beacon gets wired in here. Now the only thing with the beacon, it says top here, so you want to make sure, because the light dispersion of the LED is so you have so much light going down, so much light going out to the sides, and so much light going up. So to keep that, to meet the ITE specs, you want to make sure that meets, that says top, and then position that there. So what I'm going to do is leave that there for now, and then there's a bushing that goes in here. And the other thing that we have going on here is the top part of this. It has like these ridges on it, like checkers. And what that does is for positioning. So once you get it in position, you can move it one way or another in small increments to make sure that it's lined up when you're all said and done. So what I'm going to do is set this up and attach this off assembly arm.
So as you'll see with all the assembly brackets and everything, there's a great amount of adjustability that can be had or be realized with these setups. That's on purpose to make sure that you can aim that beacon properly. Kevin and I kind of talked about what do we recommend for beacon aiming. make sure we stay within that ITE compliance. And he just said, you know, the engineer on the project or the installer on the project really has a set of standards that they need to adhere to, and it'll be part of the final checklist when they go through it. But we give them the flexibility with the system we've developed to make sure that they can aim it properly and get
Right.
good visibility on the system.
Right. So the top arm is installed, and then of course we have the bottom arm. This comes with this split. This portion here is not in there, so you can spin that on, and then we're going to mount that. So if you just hold this door.
Absolutely.
I will. Okay, so one of the other things that we do is there's it's a wrench, and it's called a Roger wrench. And the nice thing about this is from Pelco. If you guys don't have a Pelco dealer, we can order you these. But a lot of the signal guys already have them. The cities already have a wrench like this. So it has these two prongs on here. So if you want to tighten up one of your zinc lock nuts, you can tighten those up that way. If you want to tighten up these, set that there and tighten that up. And so that's held in position. With that done, set that there. One of the last things that we have to do is there's two ways of mounting that bottom foot on. You can band it on, or we have these screws that are self-tapping screws, and they'll go through steel poles or aluminum poles.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that's what we use. Let's see if I got this thing lined up.
And those are supplied with the kit when you purchase it. The installation kit includes those self-tapping screws. Of course, banding and the banding tool would need to be sourced otherwise.
Yep.
So, depends on personal preference. Either would work fine.
Right.
Or, you know, specification, whatever. There you go. He's got it secure there.
So that's it. The last thing you'd want to do is position it, and of course, run your wiring down. The wires are set up so you get the kit. So if you're just going to be doing a single beacon, you have the short wire that would go from this door, feed in to that beacon. Or if you have this scenario here, you have the longer one. So this would go up to the top one, and this one would feed this beacon down here.
Right.
So, and it comes with every kit, so you're good to go that way.
The vertical, or the dual vertical kit is the only one you have to drill a hole for cable passage. Everything else,
right,
you route through the supports and into the hub. So you really don't have that much work to do on the pole, which can add up to a lot of time roadside.
Right. And then lastly, what comes with the kit is this base, and this base slides into the bottom there, and there's a battery that we use to slide in, and so it slips really nice on the space.
Yeah.
So you set it in there, you're not fighting it. Your wire drops down from here, from your controller down to your battery, and it's a simple connection. So as far as aesthetics go, you have a system that looks pretty cool out there. And being that we were the last, or we are one of the last people to come up with the beacon design, we're able to see what was out in the field, what was available, and I think we came up with the best solution for beacons by far, you know. So You guys
with a
have any
great with a
questions?
great price point also. You know, we're not exceeding what the industry expects to pay for a beacon setup, just because we've gone with some incredibly robust hardware and a solution that's easy to install. It doesn't mean we've added a lot of price onto it. So it's very competitively priced.
Right. And again, so once this is all done, the last thing you do is tighten up your lock rings, tighten up your solar panel mount, adjust this bad boy to wherever you want, pace itself, and then tighten up all your set screws everywhere around, and it's going to be good to go.
Cool. That's good, Kevin.
Sure.
So that took a total of about 18 minutes to have him put it all together.
Yeah, you said
there's,
plenty, so.
There's a few things he skipped, so it might have added up to more like 25, but we got there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna skip a few slides here. Oh no, I'm not. I excluded those, so a few slides covered what Kevin covered there live. So let me get into the configuration of the system. Oh, I should thank you, Jordan, for commenting that Pelco will win test these for us. I think we should probably take advantage of that and get a hold of them. So thank you for that comment. I appreciate it. So the configuration of the device is really relatively simple. You connect to it from any Wi-Fi enabled device. That could be an Android phone, an iPhone, an Android tablet, Windows PC, anything that has Wi-Fi on it and a web browser can connect to our controller. And the controller hosts a Wi-Fi network. So you don't have to have internet on site. You don't have to have accessibility. All you have to have is a device with Wi-Fi and the controller powered on. And it emits a ad hoc wireless network. Kind of like if you've ever set up a Nest thermostat in your home, the first thing you do is connect to its Wi-Fi, and then you kind of set it up from there, and then it connects to your home Wi-Fi. So you're connecting directly to the device, and you don't need internet access to do that. Once you've got connected, well, once you've got the device powered on, you search for a Wi-Fi network, just like any other Wi-Fi network. So here, I'm showing you a list as my phone was searching for Wi-Fi networks in our office. So you can see the more employee, more guest, those were Wi-Fi networks in our office. Then the Chevron controller came up as top of list. And so that's literally what the device is called, is like a Chevron controller. It's got a unique identifier that's found on the outside of the device. If you look at the labeling, that unique identifier is labeled there. So once you've connected, it requires a password. I'm not going to publish the password here because for safety reasons, this is going out live on YouTube, or not live on YouTube, but recorded on YouTube. I don't want somebody to be able to watch this and then go to all of your systems and reprogram them as they see fit. So I'm not going to publish the password here, but just know that there is a password. It's well documented in the literature. You'll have to go that route to find it. But once you've got connected, you go to setup.trafficcalm.com in any browser. There's one step there that we've started to note, because on iPhones, when you connect to a Wi-Fi network for the first time, it opens up a kind of dumbed down web browser or version of Safari. And this is really useful for when you're like at Starbucks and you connect to their Wi-Fi and you have to go through their security process to get connected to their Wi-Fi. Now, normally that web browser closes and it launches your normal web browser once you've connected to their Wi-Fi network. We can't do that with this device, so you have to know that when you do connect to it for the first time and you're trying to navigate to it, it's going to open it up on iPhones again. iPhones alone is going to open a web browser. You need to close that web browser and open the full version of Safari. It's going to really slow you down if you don't acknowledge that step. And that's in all of our literature. It should be across the board. But if you're on the cusp of installing one of our systems, know that that's a necessity. Once you got there, you go to setup.trafficcalm.com or wizard.trafficcalm.com. Either works. And you're faced with a screen like this, or nearly like this. It's going to change in the near future with a new release of software that we have coming along pretty quick. But you're given an option for what type of system you're trying to set up. Now, most of these are going to be an all-flash system. We call it all-flash because it's kind of a nondescript system. It's just all, it flashes, not all the time, but it flashes. Could be based on a radar input, but it's not specifically a push-to-cross system or a Chevron system or a conflict intersection system. Soon we'll be adding to the list a wrong way system. So this is just kind of the generic term, all flash. Once you click that, the system is actually going to reset itself and start up with a new set of firmware. So you'll notice that process when you're connecting to it, and it'll just take you through actually, once you get back to this screen here, which it'll automatically navigate back to this screen for you, which says it's not set up yet, and you have to click the setup menu up above. So you click that setup option. See how we're doing on time here? Yeah, we got plenty of time left, so thank you. You click that setup option, and that takes you into the setup of the device. And systematically, I don't have them displayed here, but really intuitively, it goes through the setup of the device, whether it be the brightness settings, the flash settings, whether it has a radar input, and then finally, whether you're going to connect other collaborators to that device. Once you're done setting it up, then you can go up to, which is not shown here, but there is an option for a calendar or a scheduler. I can't recall what we call it exactly. So you can go in and schedule the system like any other school zone flasher. So it can operate on a calendar, so you could set up specifically a holiday week for the system to be off. All of those options are really industry standard and intuitive in the system and can be set up from any device. Or a little more difficult with touch on a phone, but you can get through it, and it's functional on a phone as well. Once you're all done, we recommend you go to the status page, and that feeds back all of the inputs and sensors on the system and kind of gives you a report of what's going on with the system. It'll also denote any collaborators that have been connected to the controller. So you can see the same exact specifications or parameters feeding off of any of the collaborators connected. The most important thing you can do with this before you walk away is go into the advanced settings and set the power type of what this device is connected to. We might integrate this into the normal setup process in the near future. We try to nail it when we ship the device, but we never know what happens to these devices once they hit the field. So there's variation there. So you want to set whether AC power, AGM battery, crystal lead battery is the one that's right in front of us here, the special extended temp battery. So you select that from that drop-down list, and that configures the system to make the most of the battery or the power supply that it's connected to. So just for example, AC power isn't always reliably delivered off of a converter at exactly 12.1 volts. So if you set this to AC power functionality, it allows it to go to a lower voltage, let's say like 10.8 or even, like up to 11.5 or whatever, 12.7 or something like that. It lets it operate on a much greater range of voltages as opposed to a solar kit, which can't operate on that range of voltages because it would destroy the battery or not function properly. So going in and setting that up is really critical to the system's success. To test and validate this, I always include this on any of our presentations, is how do you test and validate a system. With these, really, you could close the road and you could test it out for multiple lanes and entry points and all that, but realistically, you should just be able to drive at it. For our wrong way system specifically, you would close down the road, but with this one, you can just drive at it and make sure that it looks good and meets the specifications that it's trying to meet. That concludes the presentation. Are there any questions? If so, you can type them. Otherwise, we'll close out here in a few minutes. Really thank everybody for participating. I know it's an hour out of your day that you really probably don't have to spare, but hopefully we've invested in you and you've seen a product that really makes sense for your roadways and what you'd like to do and accomplish out there.
Yeah, and so just to kind of go over the highlights again, main thing is you don't have to have, you can have one site at a school, communicate your scheduling to that, and it'll, as long as the other locations are in line of sight or radio, can hear with the radio, they'll program your others. So that's the advantage that we have over most of the other
solutions
out there. Yeah. And then being that you don't have a battery box on it is a very good thing on it. We have our brightness, we don't have to dim, so it makes a bigger impact that way. And anyway,
we can't emphasize enough the aesthetic of this system. We see a lot of communities that really want a specific color or color post or color. So we've done a lot to make sure that we fit the bill wherever it's needed, and made it a pleasing appearance. Because, it's probably not a common complaint that something is too large on the post, like the solar panel or the battery box or whatever. But with this system, you don't have to worry as much about those. Let's see. I don't see any other questions or chats, so I think we're good to close up. Thank you, everybody. We really appreciate it. Stay safe out there.